Hey, Jeffrey Craner here. Want to show years to learn instead of telepathy. Just go to welcome.com and click on
Lorehammer for free on.
Thanks.
It is almost complete. It is almost complete at last. Welcome to Night Vale. Hello there. As you well know, faithful listeners, it is Night Vale History Week, in which we all learn a bit about what made our bustling little town what it is. Or, as the official motto released by the city council goes, poke about in the black recesses of the past until it devours our fragile present. In the interest of civic participation, Night Vale Community Radio will be pitching in with short lessons about some points of interest from our town's history, starting with 4000 BC. Archaeologists believe this is the earliest date of human settlement in Night Vale. Little remains of these ancient inhabitants, except a few cave paintings of their towns and their hunting practices, and of the dark shapes that would watch them in the distance. Inhuman, shimmering shapes that never came closer or farther away, but whose presence could be felt even with eyes shut tight, huddled in fur and the company of another human's naked skin. Or, so I'm extrapolating from the evidence. The cave paintings mainly resembled smudges now, after their original discoverer attempted to power wash them off the wall because he, on religious grounds, did not believe in the past. And now, the news. The Night Vale Tourism Board asks that whoever is telepathically assaulting the tourists, please stop. According to the NVTB Executive Director Madeleine Lafleur, there were 2 separate incidents in 1 week of entire tour buses suddenly shrieking in unbridled terror and trying to blind themselves using rolled-up, visitable Night Vale brochures, all to the utter confusion of the bus drivers. Lafleur added, "We just had those brochures printed." Lafleur claims that tourism accounts for tens of thousands of dollars annually for Night Vale, and the town prides itself on hospitality. She said if good-hearted families travel to Night Vale only to find their subconsciouses besieged with unforgettable revelations, horrors buried so deep as to be completely indescribable, revealing wholly unbearable new truths, then we certainly can't expect these people to return, let alone leave good Yelp ratings for local businesses. The city is asking residents for help in determining who, or what, is causing these psychological infractions. The Tourism Board is offering puppies as a reward for information on this case. Or, even if you don't have information, the city asks that you come get a puppy or 2 anyway. Seriously, downtown municipal offices are overrun with them. In the trees, walls, carpentry, the exterminators are completely stymied by this infestation. Please help. It has been several weeks since anyone in Night Vale has seen the Apache Tracker, that white guy who wears the inaccurate and horribly offensive Indian headdress everywhere. He has not been seen since he began investigating the great screaming heard at the post office and the words written in blood inside. Also, the entire structure of his house has vanished, and the lot where it stood is now a bucolic meadow that neighborhood kids will not ever enter, for reasons even they are unable to explain. I think I speak for everyone in the community when I say good riddance to that local embarrassment. He made the whole town look ignorant and racist. And now, let us continue with our Night Vale History Week special feature. The year 1745. The first white men arrive in Night Vale, which was not Night Vale then, but was rather just another part of a large and featureless desert. I think we can all agree, though, that even as large and featureless as the desert was, the part that would eventually become Desert Bluffs was still probably awful and drab in comparison to our part. In any case, the story goes that a party of explorers came to the area that would be Night Vale, looked around, and immediately left to go find somewhere with more water and maybe some trees. Then another 3 parties of explorers did the same thing. Then finally, one party of explorers all looked at each other, shrugged, and plopped down their stuff. And thus was a proud city born. And now, traffic. Crews from the Department of Public Safety will be repainting highway lane markers this week. The common white dashes and double yellow lane dividers will be replaced with colorful ceramic mosaics depicting disgruntled South American workers rising en masse against an abusive capitalist hegemony. The protective steel barriers along curves in the road will be taken down to make room for some really lovely and provocative butcher paper silhouettes of slavery-era self-mutilation, reflective of centuries of slow genocide and dehumanization by Western imperialists, designed by contemporary art darling Kara Walker. Also, exits 15 to 17 along Route 800 will be closed for the next 2 Saturdays because of the biennial Lee Marvin Film Retrospective. So, please watch for working crews this weekend. Lower your speed, and don't forget to tip the DPS shift leaders. 20% of your current mileage is standard. Lack of tipping is the leading cause of sinkholes in the U.S. The year 1824. The first meeting of the Town Elder Council, predecessors to the City Council. Picture them. Crimson robes and soft meat crowns, as was traditional at the time, setting the groundwork for the splendor of today's Night Vale. A number of elements of our modern civic process were invented in that single 3-hour meeting, including the City Council membership, since unchanged, the lovably Byzantine tax system, as well as the system of brutal penalties for mistakes, and the official town song, chant, and moan. All records of this meeting were destroyed, and, according to a note being passed to me just now, I am to report to City Hall for re-education effective tomorrow morning. Oh dear. The results of a recent survey of Night Vale residents came to light this week. The study found widespread dissatisfaction with our town's public library, and when considering the facts, it's easy to see why. The public computers for internet use are outdated and slow. The lending period of 14 days is not nearly long enough to read lengthier books given the busy schedules of all our lives. The fatality rate is also well above the national average for public libraries. The library Bloodstone Circle does not appear to have seen any maintenance or cleaning in some time. There are reports of a faceless specter moving about the biographies section, picking off lone browsers one by one. And that biographies section, by the way, is far too small and has been oddly curated, containing 33 copies of the official biography of Helen Hunt and no other books. From top to bottom, the public library is a disgrace to our fair city, and I can only hope our city council does something about that soon. Or I may find myself hoping that the faceless specter puts the library to the same mysterious violent end as its many victims. Night Vale High won the grudge match against the Desert Bluffs Vultures last night. Two-headed quarterback Michael Sandero credits the win to help from Angels. The Angels have made an adamant denial of any involvement whatsoever in the game. The school district ethics committee has announced that they will look into any possible angelic interference. Speaking of which, Night Vale High School is adding metal detectors, and parents and students alike are outraged. Several parents we talked to said that NVHS students have long been recipients of shadow government-issued Uzis and rifles, as well as tasers and armor-piercing munitions. The school board's decision to put up metal detectors, according to parents, impinges on the clandestine operations rights as a vast underground conspiracy of giant megacorporations and corrupt world leaders to bear arms via teenage paramilitary proxies. The school board countered that studies indicate that weapons distract from educators' ability to educate, and that students who bring firearms to classrooms are more likely to use firearms than students without firearms. The school board says that school shootings can only get in the way of a quality education. Well, at the risk of becoming too much a part of this story, dear listeners, might I say that the Night Vale School District is overstepping its bounds by telling us whether or not our children can be armed by undercover militants? Should it be a school's job to say, "No, child, you cannot have grenades or assault rifles in the classroom"? I think not. Beginning November 1st, all students at NVHS will enter through metal detectors. Any firearms or weaponry found will be confiscated and held in the counselor's office until after school, when the students can pick them up again. Seriously, listeners, what's next? Removing the line, "Praise the beams, praise, O ye knowing beams that guide our lives, our hearts, our souls. Praise, O highest, to ye all-powerful beams," from the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's return to another key moment in Night Vale history. The year 1943. As part of the war effort, Night Vale citizens dedicated themselves to chanting. The young, the old, men and women alike gathered around their bloodstones and chanted for the victory of the United States. While some credit must be given to the strategic planning of U.S. Command and to the brave fighting of American soldiers, most reputable scholars believe that Night Vale's chanting was the deciding factor in America's eventual victory over the Axis powers. The city council erected a 7-story monument in Grove Park saying so in large neon letters, until a federal lawsuit forced them to take it down. And now, a word from our sponsors. That word is carp. This next installment in our exploration of Night Vale's storied past takes place in the future. The year 2052. The scion of the Dark Order will descend, realize he mistimed the prophecy, and reascend. The seventh siege of the great Night Vale Temple will rage on. The plague of buzzing boils will kill thousands and annoy thousands more with its buzzing. The city council will reveal its true form and eat half of Night Vale's population. Approval ratings for the mayor will hover in the low 40s, which will be surprising as there will have been no mayor for over 30 years. And now, the weather.
I guess by the blood stain of your lips and the wonder of your fingertips, I should prove true to my emptiness and stay here. Well, I'm just a kid of ill repute, but the skin I wear's my only suit, and you're just a substitute for the one that I hold dear. You know you could be anyone. God forgive my tasteless tongue. I never should have been set free. I close my eyes, I skin my face, beg somehow to be replaced. That's how we deal with boys like me. Well, I guess by this world so sick with loss, and your services so free of cost, I should climb down off my rugged cross and lay with you. But you know by now it's 8:30, and I only came here for escape. You're just my next mistake, like me to you. You know you could be anyone. God forgive your unborn sons. I hope they don't end up like me. I drag my mind through streets of shame, blame myself, forgive the game. That's how we deal with boys like me. But despite what you've been told, I once had a soul left somewhere behind, a former friend of mine. And I hate to speak so free, but you mean nothing to me. So if the streetlights they shine bright, I'll get home tonight. Well, I guess by the dim light in your eyes, and that to you all things come as a surprise, I should set the steel trap of your thighs and dive right in. But to you I'm just a confused child, insecure or in denial. Go raise your robes, go have your trial, I'll let you win. You know I could be anyone. God forgive what I should have done. My thoughts enough to guilty be. Yes, I guess I made
The Night Vale Business Association announced today that the Night Vale Harbor and Waterfront Recreation Area was not actually something that ever existed in reality, but was instead a shared hallucination of the entire town's population. As such, they are proud to declare that they have never suffered any sort of disastrous business failure, and the reportedly massive amounts of money lost on building waterfront facilities in a desert are fabrications of our collective consciousness. They recommend consulting your dream interpretation manuals to determine exactly what this Night Vale Harbor vision could mean. They also said that if you happen to stumble on the waterfront buildings out in the desert exactly where you remembered them, and they seem completely real, standing as vacant and useless as the day they were built, that's because you are still hallucinating and should seek medical treatment immediately. Or have a member of the city council howl at you if you are of the olden faith and do not believe in modern medicine. For our final story in this week's featured look into the history of Night Vale, let's look at the very recent past. Yesterday. I had cereal for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, steak for dinner. Cars were driven, cars were not driven. The sun gave a great shout of light and then, after several hours of thought, quietly retracted the statement. Old woman Josie dug up a box in a shady corner of her yard and carried it, cradled in her arms like a baby or a delicate explosive, to another part of her yard where she buried it again. An unknown person did something that no one else saw, the nature and extent of which is impossible to determine, and the result of which will be lost in the chaotic chain of causation and consequence that is history. But most importantly, all of us here in Night Vale, in America, in the world, in the secret orbital bases, all of us got through another day. We passed the time from one end of 12 to the other without stopping once. Well done, us. Good job, people who experience time. Time experiencers, good job. And from this moment in history, the one that's happening right now, good night.
Assignments.
Are you
Silence is golden.
far future? Join Mark and Eric as they discuss the lore, stories, and background of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, all while trying to provide a humorous spin to such a dark setting. Listen to Lorehammer for free on Spotify.
Silence is golden. Words are vibrations. Thoughts are magic. Welcome to Night Vale. Next Saturday is the big lottery drawing, listeners. Right out in front of City Hall. And your community radio station has put together a few helpful tips for winning. The lottery is, of course, mandatory. But how can you get the best odds for drawing a blank white paper and not one of the purple pieces that means you'll be ceremoniously disemboweled and eaten by the wolves at the Night Vale Petting Zoo and Makeshift Carnival? I know to some of you young people, this lottery seems like a barbarous, outdated tradition, but if not for municipally planned citizen sacrifice each quarter, How else would we find satisfactory meats to feed those sad, scrawny animals? So, here now are the 3 I's of playing the lottery. I1. Identify. Learn to sense colors. Purple has a grittier emotional aura than white. I2. Ignite. Set fire to your home. While it's not true that wolves refuse to eat arsonists, it's a scientific fact that they're unable to detect the presence of one. I3. Imitate. If you happen to draw a purple piece, impersonate someone who drew a white piece. You might be mistaken for a person who is colorblind. This, of course, will lead to months of painful color re-education at City Hall. But in most cultures, that's better than being eaten by wolves. Also, make sure to visit the Food Truck Festival, which will be downtown as part of the lottery festivities. Popular truck treats include Korean barbecue, vegetarian chili, and veal ice cream. Carlos, this station's favorite scientist, no offense to Dr. Dubinsky in the Night Vale Community College Chemistry Department, dropped by our broadcast location earlier this morning for a little chat. Sadly, dinner or weekend plans were not among the topics. However, Carlos did request that we ask listeners for anyone who saw a series of bright, colorful flickers coming from Radon Canyon this past weekend. These flickers would have also been accompanied by unintelligible noises, possibly some form of coded communication or signal jamming technique. Carlos suggested that there could be some very sinister forces at work here. He declined to be interviewed live, claiming only that he was scared for us. Scared for all of us in our strange town. Then he drove away quickly in his economical but attractively sporty hybrid coupe. If anyone out there knows anything about these otherworldly lights and sounds, please contact us immediately. Night Vale School Superintendent Nick Ford announced today that the Glow Cloud has joined the school board. The Glow Cloud passed over the entirety of Night Vale several weeks ago, dropping small and large animal carcasses, controlling our thoughts and tertiary muscle groups, and erasing every last recording device. We're still unsure the Glow Cloud even existed, as no one remembers it, nor has any digital record of it. If not for a few intrepid citizens who used old-fashioned pens and pencils to record the event in their diaries, we would have no remaining knowledge of that day. I, of course, can only thank those journal writers anonymously here on the air, as the Night Vale City Council long ago banned writing utensils, along with margarita glasses and barcode scanners. And I don't want to get my fellow reporters in any trouble with the sheriff's secret police. According to Superintendent Ford, the Glow Cloud's visit on that nearly forgotten day was simply an effort to find a nice neighborhood with good schools to raise a child. Now, what kind of progeny a powerful, formless cloud of noxious nightmares and spiritual destruction might produce, I dare not even speculate. But I do know one thing. That little cloud is going to get one heck of an education in the Night Vale School District. And isn't it heartening to hear that that little puff of despair's father or mother will serve on the school board? I mean, no matter how good the school, a student can only get out as much as the parents put in. We should all take such an impactful role in our children's scholastic lives. Especially you, Steve Carlsberg. You don't do anything except bring unacceptably dry scones to PTA meetings and take grammatically disastrous minutes on your shifts as meeting secretary. Get it together, Steve. Superintendent Ford offered the following statement of support for the newest school board member. All hail. Kneel for the glow cloud. Sacrifice. Pestilence. Sores. All hail the glow cloud. And now, traffic. This morning I saw a running man. He passed by my home, panting, limping, running desperate. I tried to stop him, but he would not meet my eye. This noontime, I saw a running man. He was coming down from the mountain holding a bag. His knees were bloody, and face covered in tears. This evening, I saw a running man. He was leaving town, legs pumping like a terrified heart. I think he was missing a hand. Is it that he wouldn't meet my eye, or that he had no eyes? Now I wish I could remember. There are many things I wish I could remember. This has been Traffic. New billboards have appeared all over town, bearing the image of a turkey sandwich and the single word harlot in large block letters. These billboards have caused some confusion, both due to their ambiguous message and to the fact that the entire structure of the billboards materialized overnight in places billboards are not usually constructed, such as the living rooms of local homes, the middle of busy thoroughfares, causing multiple car accidents, and, in one case, directly through a living dog, who has not appeared harmed by the addition to his body and has carried the entire billboard around town while going about his usual canine business. The Department of Health and Human Services recently claimed responsibility for the billboards, saying that they were part of a campaign to promote nutrition and healthy living among children. The original draft of the release also mentioned something about an offering to a long-dead god, but this was altered to fun, active lifestyles are important for kids of all ages in a subsequent addendum. We're receiving several phone calls from listeners and from the Parks Department that those flickering lights and unintelligible noises we reported on earlier were coming from the Pink Floyd Multimedia Laser Spectacular. I contacted Carlos about this, and he said that the situation is even worse than he imagined. He, again, did not mention weekend plans. A sports scandal has shook our quiet little town. The Night Vale Scorpions have faced multiple allegations of possible game tampering this football season. Representatives for the Desert Bluffs School District, speaking in unpleasant and high-pitched voices indicative of weakness of will and character, complained to the Regional Football and Traffic Code Authority that Night Vale quarterback Michael Sandero's recently grown second head counts as a 12th man on the field, thus invalidating the wins brought on by his also recently acquired superhuman agility and strength. The RFTCA said that they would look into these allegations with the utmost seriousness, along with their concurrent investigation into whether Night Vale's invisible crosswalk policy is actually a desperate bid to save town funds at the cost of pedestrian lives. Meanwhile, the school board is due to announce its decision in their ongoing hearings as to whether appealing to angels for a win constitutes illegal game tampering. Several angels agreed to testify at the hearings. However, their testimonials were cut short when it became apparent that the hearings were actually elaborate traps set up by the city council to finally capture the angels, whom the council does not recognize as actually existing. Fortunately, the angels easily escaped from their cages in a blaze of heavenly light, presumably returning to Old Woman Josie's house, out near the car lot, which has become something of an informal shelter for local angels. When asked about the controversy over his team's winning record, coach Nazar Al-Mujahid said, "Our boys are good boys. They're good boys at football. We win 'em with the boys. The football?" Then he smiled vacantly, waved at no one, and wandered off in the direction of the woods. More on this story as it develops. And now a word from our sponsor. Step into your nearest Subway restaurant today and try their new 6-inch mashed potato sub. Top it with a delicious assortment of fresh vegetables, like French fries and Nutella. They'll even toast or poach it for you. There are several Subway locations in Night Vale, all easily accessible through witchcraft and chanting. And between now and November 30th, buy 9 reverse colonics and get a free 40-ounce soda or freshly baked tobacco cookie. Subway. Devour your own empty heart. Exciting news about the abandoned mine shaft outside of town, where people who vote incorrectly are taken by the secret police. HBO On Demand will be made available to prisoners during their indefinite detention. All your favorite shows, such as The Wire, Sex and the City, and even new hits like Game of Thrones, will be available in every cell. Additionally, the secret police announced they will be randomly executing 1 prisoner a day until all incorrect votes are corrected. This just in. We're receiving word from the City Council that there was absolutely not a Pink Floyd multimedia laser spectacular this weekend at Radon Canyon. That there never was a Pink Floyd multimedia laser spectacular ever near Night Vale. Pink Floyd is not even a thing, said the council in a very stern but quiet statement just received by me here via phone. The council, and this is strange, the entire council, not just a representative of the council, the entire council issued this statement, all speaking in unison just now over the phone. That Night Vale citizens are prohibited from discussing any lights or sounds coming from Radon Canyon this past weekend, and that they should just stop remembering Pink Floyd shows altogether. The council reiterated that there is no way that they are huge Floyd fans privately using public funds on a laser-powered seance to talk hard rockin' classic jams with the ghost of original frontman Syd Barrett. And that Syd wouldn't even say anything juicy anyway because he is such a gentleman and an artist. This did not happen at all. So, listeners, we urge you to look away from Radon Canyon. Avert your eyes, ears, and memories from that which is no longer allowed you. Comfort and distract yourselves with dense food and television programming. As the old adage goes, a life of pain is the pain of life, and you can never escape it. Only hope it hides, unknown, in a drawer like a poisonous spider and never comes out again, even though it probably will in unexpected and horrific fashion, scaring you from being able to comfortably conduct even the most mundane quotidian tasks. Or, at least, that's how my grandparents always phrased it. And now, the weather.
Things change fast, but this too shall pass. Better carve it on your forehead or tattoo it on your ass, 'cause who can tell when the clock strikes 12 if today's become tomorrow? It's all just gone to hell. My friend makes rings, she swirls and sings. She's a mystic in the sense that she's still mystified by things but scared to ask. How can nothing seem to last? 'Cause like a cancer in your body, it all goes too fast. We think too big. We think ourself is one whole thing, and we claim that this collection, it has a name and is a being, but deep inside, when every cell divides, well, it sets upon the rule that state self-interest is divine. And cancer, too, lives by this golden rule that you must do unto the others as the others unto you, all for the best. Because it's all that life accepts, and so we kill it like a buffalo with awe and with respect. Don't ask God, just holler at the sky, 'cause she'll tell it to you plainly. And the clouds that whisper by and praise the shapes, and then praise the way they change. And they'll teach you not to pray to light without you pray to rain. So I pray to hands, I pray to needs, and I pray to blades of grass to find forgiveness in the weeds. But as for health, I just never did believe, and so I never prayed myself except to those that prayed for me. The story goes, or the way that I was told, there was a king that always felt too high, and then he fell too low, and so he called all the wise men to the hall, and he begged them for a gift to end the rises and the falls. But here's the thing, they came back with a ring. It was simple and was plainly unbefitting of a king, engraved in black. Well, it had no front or back, but there were words around the band that said, just know this too shall pass.
Teddy Williams, over at the Desert Flower Bowling Alley and Arcade Fun Complex, has an update on the doorway into that vast underground city he found in the pin retrieval area of Lane 5. He says that every window of the city is now glowing both day and night. And he heard the shouts and footsteps of what sounded like an army marching upwards toward the world above. He also said that, given that nothing really matters now, bowling is half off, and each game comes with a free basket of wings. Nothing like those desert flower wings. Let me leave you with this, dear listeners. We lead frantic lives, filled with needs and responsibilities, but completely devoid of any actual purpose. I say, let's try to enjoy the simple things. Life should be like a basket of chicken wings, salty, full of fat and vinegar, and surrounded by celery you'll never actually eat, even when you're greedily sopping up the last viscous streaks of buffalo sauce from the wax paper with your spit-stained index finger. Yes, that is as life should be, Night Vale. Stay tuned next for a special live broadcast of the Night Vale Symphony Orchestra performing Eugene O'Neill's classic play, The Iceman Cometh. It is a good night, listeners. Good night.
Dragons.
God Almighty.
New Adventure are served weekly on Wednesdays. Listen to D&D for free on Spotify.
Weird at last, weird at last. God Almighty, weird at last. Welcome to Night Vale. The sheriff's secret police are asking the public's help in catching a dangerous fugitive on the loose in the greater Night Vale area. They say he is armed and should be approached with extreme caution. For everyone's protection, they are keeping the name and description of the fugitive secret, but indicate that all strangers should be mistrusted and avoided, as well as friends and loved ones, because how well do you know those people anyway? Are you aware of their location every second of every day? Who among us does not have secrets? The fugitive is wanted dead or alive, and vigilante justice is, as always, highly encouraged. Our top story today. A large pyramid has appeared in the center of the Beatrix Lohman Memorial Meditation Zone, destroying over half of the zone's state-of-the-art meditation equipment and paraphernalia. Experts have been contacted as to what could cause sudden pyramid existence. However, as it turns out, there are no experts in pyramid materialization, and the town's other experts offered up merely shrugs, followed by panicked conjectures, and finally, screams and moans, all of which fell uselessly upon the city council's merciless ears. The pyramid has been described as a kind of triangle shape, only three-dimensional. It has made no movement, despite repeated taserings by the sheriff's secret police. Many suspect that this may be a publicity stunt pulled by our own local cereal company, Flaky-O's, who are launching their new line of nighttime-only cereals next month. An angry mob has formed outside of the cereal factory, just in case. Telly. You remember the deceitful barber with a shriveled soul who, just a few weeks ago, cut perfect scientist Carlos's perfect beautiful hair very short, so very, very short, thus depriving our community of our only remaining pleasure. Well, Telly was seen recently wandering the sand wastes, howling at the sky and holding up Carlos's shorn locks, as though begging God to reverse the crime he has done. Reports indicate that his skin was blistering, that his eyes were bleary, and that he was recently seen trying to give a cactus a haircut, whispering and cooing into what he seemed to think was its ear. Listeners, I am not one to stand aside harshly and say that a man deserves the punishment that comes to him. But I also am not sorry to see Telly in this state, given his crime. In any case, if your cactus is in need of a haircut, try Telly, out wandering the sand wastes. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say that I am not a cat person, but I have really grown to love Koshik, the stray cat that has made his home here at the radio station. I discovered Koshik several weeks ago, hovering in a fixed location in the men's bathroom, and he's remained there ever since. The men at the station, of course, have taken to keeping the sink at a light trickle so he can get water, and we even take turns buying Science Diet low-calorie cat food. It turns out little Koshik is getting a bit chubby since he can't actually exercise in his unmovable, levitating state. Oh, and thanks to our new intern, Brad, we've finally solved the litter problem. Brad is very excellent at both carpentry and dark magic, so he rigged us up a fine-looking litter box that our floating feline friend can reach. Oh, he's just adorable, that cat. As a lifelong dog lover, I've really turned the corner. Koshik is wonderful. I know several others here at the station that feel the same way. After meeting Koshik, Michaela, who works in sales, put her 3-year-old Weimaraner to sleep and then adopted 6 tabby kittens. She's that much of a convert. Make sure to take some cute videos, Michaela. And for others of you interested in getting a new cat, the Night Vale SPCA strongly recommends that you have your cat spayed or neutered, bring them in for their shots, and, once the cat reaches 18 months, begin using the little beast to harvest human organs for those just-in-case moments. The SPCA has several one-sheets on preventing heartworms and using pets to grow small replacement organs. To get your copy, go online or simply make up your own informative facts. An update on the pyramid reported on earlier. Word is in that the pyramid has spoken. It is broadcasting on low-wave frequencies a repeated message. The message is the following. I will place within some of you questions. Within others I will place answers. These questions and these answers will not always align. The questions I provide may have no answers, and the answers I provide may have no questions. I will study the effects of these questions and these answers. Some of you will hurt others, and others will heal. Grow my seeds inside you, and let them flower. The Flaky-O's marketing department must be complimented for the best use of viral marketing in Night Vale since Stan's Pawn Shop released a virulent strain of Ebola back in '98. And, as a communicator by trade, I applaud their ingenuity. The Sheriff's Secret Police has responded with surface-to-surface missiles, which they say will silence the dark heart of the beast. So far, they have not so much as created a smudge on the pyramid's broad, shiny surface. Home handymen. Fix-it vixens. Ladies and gentlemen who love to get their hands dirty. Let's talk about home repair. Certain jobs are fine for the amateur, and certain others should be left to the professionals. Leaky sinks, sticky windows, minor exorcisms, and bleeding doors, all these are the kind of quick fixes that a toolbox and a quick search on the internet should allow you to take care of. On the other hand, structural damage, major remodeling, seeping darkness, major exorcisms, roof boils, and lawn care. These are all the kind of work that should not be attempted by anyone without years of expertise and a valid hammer license from the City Council. Finding the right professional for the job is easy. Just look in the Yellow Pages, or head down to the squatter shacks by the edge of the sand wastes and ask around among the homeless. And now a public service announcement from the Night Vale medical community. Being in the desert, we get a lot of sun, and doctors are encouraging Night Vale citizens to do regular skin checks. You may think that freckle or mole is harmless, but you never know when it will grow into something much worse. Surgeons at Night Vale General Hospital are noting an uptick in dermatological growths related to sun exposure. Doctors describe these growths as 15-inch spiraled horns. The horns mostly protrude from the lower back or knees. Unchecked, these horns can develop a glistening shine, small leather saddles, and bright red lips on the very tip. So, check your skin at least once a week in the mirror. Dermatologists recommend a 3-step process. 1. Search meticulously for 15-inch horns protruding from your body. Don't overlook anything. 2. If you find any suspicious growths, mark them with a chalk pentagon. 3. Gently remove the affected skin area with a sterilized razor blade, or similarly clean crafting blade. If you are not one of the 53% of our community that was born without pain-sensing nerves, you should first consult your primary care electrologist for tips on how to numb yourself to the nigh unbearable pain of existence. The Department of Public Safety announced that all street signs in Night Vale will be replaced with traffic cops wielding semaphore flags. Drivers will be required to learn this physically expressive maritime alphabet. This decision is not without its controversy, as the existing street signs are entirely in Braille. One critic, Paul Birmingham, says removing these signs will deflate the Earth. As a member of the Air-Filled Earth Society, Paul believes that Earth is a precariously inflated orb that could pop or sag at any moment. We've got to stop teaching all this religious propaganda in our schools and start teaching real science, Paul shouted from his lean-to behind the library. I have to admit, listeners, he makes a valid point. And now, a word from our sponsor. Today's program is brought to you by Audible.com, your online source for recorded books. There are thousands of great titles at Audible.com that you can download to your computer or portable device and listen to on the go. I use Audible to catch up on best-selling titles like The Help and Van Gogh Notes for Technical Communication 11/E. I'm on their website right now, and I'm typing in a search for dog park because I was thinking about this town's beautiful new fixture and how I will never, ever take my dog there. Let's see what Audible comes up with. It's a flashing black and red screen that says Thought Crime in all caps, and below that, a little animation of 2 digging workers. Under construction. That's adorable. So, check out audible.com. New Audible members can get 1 free audiobook just by smudging their computer monitors with baby's blood and humming the Spanish translation of The Battle Hymn of the Republic. Audible.com. You can't burn what you can't even touch. Update on the pyramid situation. Flaky O's board of directors are vigorously denying, some of them at gunpoint, that they have any part in the pyramid that is stubbornly continuing to exist in our town. They are sneaky ones. I hope the new line of cereal turns out to be worth the hype. Meanwhile, the pyramid itself has altered its broadcast, sending out a second message, which is as follows. Everything you do matters except your life. Death will be the last action you undertake. I do not live, but I exist. What is my purpose? I will not tell you. One day you will discover your purpose, and then you will tell no one. And then you will die. Now, I'm not too good at this viral marketing thing, so I can't see all the codes and hidden web addresses that I'm sure are all through that message. I'll leave that to all the dedicated amateurs out there in the listening world. Sheriff's secret police are now attempting to charge the pyramid with resisting arrest, on the grounds that they couldn't figure out how to arrest it. More as the story develops. In the meantime, let's go to the weather.
One day the snow began to fall, and slowly, inch by inch, it covered up the earth, till finally the top of the tallest building was lost beneath the powdered sea, as quiet as a shadow's grave. We say that the world isn't dying. We pray that the world isn't dying. Just maybe the world isn't dying. Maybe she's heavy with child. One night, a woman took my hand. I left my home and followed her into an icy field. When I wanted to go back, I lost the way. So she beckoned me to lie beneath the stone that always bore my name. And we say that the world isn't dying. And we pray that the world isn't dying.
smell of urine, alcohol, trash and gasoline. With a dim sense of a notion, we'd held something in our hands that was bigger than us or God, and we can never touch again. And we say that the world isn't dying, and we pray that the world isn't dying. And just maybe the world isn't dying. And I've been looking at the symptoms for a while. Maybe she's heavy with child.
Well, listeners, it seems the pyramid has disappeared as mysteriously and suddenly as it arrived. Too late, I'm afraid, for the Flaky O's board of directors, who have all been taken to the abandoned mine shaft outside of town for processing by the city council. The sheriff's secret police are declaring victory in their standoff against the pyramid, because, they say, it's about time they won something. Meanwhile, the pyramid has left behind a much tinier pyramid, a mere souvenir of its looming inscrutable mass. This tiny pyramid is broadcasting one final message, a farewell from the geometric shape that stole our hearts. So, let us wrap up our show today with its words. Somewhere there is a map, and on that map is Earth. And attached to Earth is an arrow that says your name and lists your lifespan. Some of you die standing, others sitting. Many of you die in cars. I can never die. It is difficult for me to understand the concept that I am attempting to convey. I cannot show you this vision, but you may imagine it. Step forward and tell someone of it, please. You heard it here, folks. Tell people. Tell people about Flaky O's new line of cereals for nighttime only. Do it in memory of its board of directors. Stay tuned now for an hour of dead air with the occasional hiss and crackle. Speaking of the nighttime, I truly hope you have a good one, Night Vale. Good night.
You love Night Vale? Well, you'll love Forever Has Fallen, a heart-pounding podcast thriller about tech billionaire Carl Axel Mathiasen, who is running for his life, framed for murder and the destruction of his global empire. A psychotic assassin and powerful government forces turn their... Well, we have 4 volumes of NightVale.com.
Warhammer 40,000 Universe.
Welcome to Night Vale. Our top story today. A roving pack of feral dogs has been terrorizing Night Vale for the past several hours. The dogs have been described as mostly mutts, possibly pit bull mixes. Witnesses say their apparent leader is the three-headed one wearing dozens of decorative service medals and chevrons. Sheriff's Secret Police confirmed that the dog pack has already attacked a group of elementary school children this morning around 8, as they were getting on the bus. Injuries were minor, as the children protected themselves ably with their school-issued nerve gas canisters and automatic pistols. The dogs' motives are not yet known, although authorities believe it could be meth and/or gang-related. More on this story as it develops. This Friday afternoon, the Parks Department will be spraying pesticide in all public park areas and in neighborhoods with dense foliage and predominantly Irish heritage. Night Vale is making a strong effort to reduce the mosquito population and the dangerous diseases they carry. Last year, mosquitoes were responsible for outbreaks of West Nile, influenza, panache, elephantitis, and Fanny Brice approximation syndrome. Please stay indoors from 1 p.m. Friday to 10 p.m. Saturday to avoid dermal contact with the pesticide, which has been known to cause skin abrasions, epilepsy, super epilepsy, and organ inversion. The Parks Department also notes that the pesticide has a half-life of 2,100 years, which means we'll be safe from those annoying mosquitoes for a long time. We just received word from Wayne Tyler, assistant shift manager at the new Pinkberry, that the pack of feral dogs was seen this morning rooting around in the dumpsters behind the library. They made off with some discarded Chinese takeout containers, a rusty futon frame, and 2 homeless men, likely to become henchpeople to the wild dogs. If you are near the library, be warned that these dogs are dangerous. Also be warned that penalties for overdue books has skyrocketed to 50 cents per day and, after 30 days, jaw mutilation. The Night Vale Medical Board has issued a new study indicating that you have a spider somewhere on your body at all times, but especially now. The study said that further research would be needed to determine exactly where on your body this spider is and what its intentions are. Only that it is definitely there and is statistically likely to be one of the really ugly ones. Let's go now to community health tips. Listeners, are you suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome? Are you enjoying carpal tunnel syndrome? Are you surprised by carpal tunnel syndrome? Are you enraged by carpal tunnel syndrome? Do you feel a throbbing sadness that you almost cannot stand from carpal tunnel syndrome? Do you feel a bounty of love and appreciation for your fellow human beings traveling through this confusing and finite lifetime with you from carpal tunnel syndrome? Do you get sexually aroused by carpal tunnel syndrome? That would be weird. Not to be judgmental, but it would be weird. This has been Community Health Tips. Listeners, we've just learned that the Drawbridge construction site has been hit by graffiti vandals. The Sheriff's Secret Police suspect the feral dog pack to be responsible for the giant spray-painted lettering along the bridge scaffolding that reads, "Gold standard is our standard," and "Read your Constitution." There was also a very elaborately painted portrait of Alexander Hamilton wearing Groucho Marx nose glasses, and a caption that reads, "Federalist Papers," but where Federalist is crossed out and toilet is written in red. Actually, you should see this. It's truly stunning. All that with spray paint. I'm impressed. These guys are really good artists. Nevertheless, these dogs are possibly armed and possibly rabid. They are definitely libertarian street artists, and that has police and city officials working double time to solve this problem. If you have any tips that could lead to the capture of this roving band of dogs, please keep them to yourself. We've also received word that they have tapped your phone and computers, so best not leave the house or talk loudly. Let's have a look at the community calendar. This Sunday afternoon, the Night Vale Fire Department will be holding its bi-weekly Fireperson Appreciation Parade. All of the town's firefighters will be riding through Main Street on their bright red engines, which will be turned into floats depicting some of the greatest fires in Night Vale's history. One of my personal favorites is the 1983 Earthquake Dust Fire, when tremor-initiated fires became so intense that the airborne sand burst into deadly flames. Nearly the entire city population was lost, and the FDNV does a fantastic job capturing the drama with streamers and papier-mâché. The fire department would like to remind Night Vale citizens that the parade is free, and to check your coffee makers and gas stoves before you leave home, because they will not fight any fires while the parade is happening. On Monday, the staff of Dark Owl Records will be wearing sweater vests. Tuesday night is the Boy Scouts Court of Honor. The BSA will name its first ever Blood Pact Scouts, the rank just above Eagle Scout. So far, no scout has attained the coveted position of Eternal Scout, but we have heard that two local boys, Franklin Wilson and Barton Donovan, have earned the Invisibility Badge, which is a prerequisite for the rank. Well done, Frank and Barty. Wednesday afternoon is the citywide fitness fair at the Rec Center. Last year's event was canceled, as it was held on the same day and time as the fried chicken and cigarette fair. This year's event, however, promises to be a huge success, as they have secured a large corporate sponsorship from the Intelligence Group International, who will provide free prostate screenings, mammograms, and surgically embedded government monitoring devices. Thursday morning, the National Weather Service and National Security Agency have scheduled a giant sandstorm. Friday is an oasis, only a metaphor for something unattainable, a haunting dream of meaning for our lives. But don't look, turn your head. Your life is here. Stay here. You are alone. You are so peacefully alone. That's it. Yes. Good. We've contacted the Night Vale Zoo, hoping to find out more information on how dogs behave in packs. Perhaps these skilled animal experts could give us some insight into how to catch these dogs, or at least understand them. Night Vale Zoo Director Emily Munton told us that all animals prefer tiny cages and scheduled food pellet consumption, and that it didn't make sense that any animals would want to wander freely about town. She added a high-pitched roar, followed by a watery gurgling sound, and then our conversation was ended by repeated, cloudless thunderclaps. A reminder to anyone looking for fun on a budget today in Night Vale. It's free admission day at the Night Vale Museum of Forbidden Technologies. As always, the museum features many fascinating permanent exhibits, including the cheap, pollution-free source of energy created by Nikola Tesla, multiple time machines, some of them not yet invented, and pocket calculators, which were outlawed by the city council 22 years ago for undisclosed reasons. Along with that, there is a temporary exhibit displaying the many different, exciting, and extremely dangerous uses for lasers. Be sure to splurge on the guidebook at the museum store, as the exhibits themselves are entirely shrouded with thick burlap at all times, and all explanatory plaques have been blacked out with permanent marker. The Museum of Forbidden Technologies. If you don't know about it, we may or may not have it. And now a word from our sponsor. You come home. The lights are off. You get an uneasy feeling. Suddenly, the phone rings. You remember that you do not have a phone. It rings some more. You do not know what to do. Then you remember that yes, you do own a phone. Why wouldn't you own a phone? Everyone owns a phone. The phone is still ringing. Ha 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 ha. How silly to think you didn't own a phone. It rings again. You smile and shrug and answer the ringing phone. It is still dark. Hello, you say? They are waiting for you. A whispery, gender indeterminate voice tells you. It is your time, it says. You turn on the light. You laugh again, wondering why it took you so long to turn on the light. Gosh, it was dark, you think. Hello? The voice asks. You hang up, glad you remembered to buy Tropicana orange juice, at least. Tropicana Pure Premium Orange Juice is made from the freshest oranges with no added flavors or preservatives. Also, you should get caller ID. It's the 21st century. How do you not have caller ID? Really. Tropicana. This just in. 2 more school children were attacked by the wild dogs this morning near the playground at Night Vale Elementary School. One of the boys was taken to Night Vale General with treatable leg injuries. The other boy, we understand, was unharmed because he was a better boy and more loved by the angels. We've also received confirmation that a handful of mangy curs broke into the senior center, stole their televisions, and made the internet stop working. This has gotten out of hand, ladies and gentlemen. We simply cannot live in fear for our safety because of wild dogs. Allow me a brief editorial here, if you would. First off, please have your pets fixed. It's an inexpensive and quick process. You can take your dog or cat to the Night Vale SPCA, to your local veterinarian, or to Big Rico's Pizza. Rico studies taxidermy as a hobby, so he's happy to help out in whatever way he can. Second, many of these dog packs are formed by dogs that are not raised to be loved, but bred to fight. Trainers are teaching these dogs everything from jiu-jitsu to kickboxing to knife work. This is simply unacceptable. Dog fighting is illegal, cruel to animals, and a danger to society when these dogs are untethered. But we are a strong, united community here in Night Vale. We must stand up to violence. Our town was founded by peace-loving imperialist conquerors who, to escape taxation, overwhelmed a potentially violent race of indigenous people and founded this beautiful city on principles of family, fortitude, fence building, and friendly propaganda. Let's not forget our long-standing town motto, "We have nothing to fear except ourselves. We are unholy, awful people. Fear ourselves with silence. Look down, Night Vale. Look down and forget what you've done." That is the motto of a determined, unified community. And now, the weather.
I know this. This I know. All that I have, all that is me, resides inside my poetry. And every time I write a rhyme, it might be the line that sets mine free. And also, I know that I don't know shit. And the more I know, the more I realize it. I know that for all the pain I've cried, there's the exact same balance of joy on the other side of that coin. Joined with the thinnest slip of membrane. Same goes for crazy, insane, truth and lie, answer and why, because I know this. This universe operates with a divine tug of war, teeter-totter, bringing order and balance like the tide does to water. Like I know that each wave rolls back to the sea, retreating from me into deep green eternity, and I know that I am free. Well, at least in my mind, if I wanna be. I know that some things sound good to me in theory, but in point of fact suck ass in actual practice, like communism and pornography. I know that it's impossible to really know where anyone is coming from, so who are we to judge them? I know that some things are so dope they transcend their category, and it's important to see the glory in the ordinary. Like I know that there's Nag Champa and then there's all other incense. I can't see putting Earl Grey up against any other tea. Lash Out, it's not even on the same plane as other mascaras comparatively, and I know that there's R&B, and then there's Otis Redding. I know that most things are much greater than the sum of their parts, and that that's the real definition of art. Like, brownies are good, and so is whipped cream, but you put them together and it's this whole fucking chemical other thing, like Lennon and McCartney singing harmony, like masturbating as compared to an orgy. I know that everything within this surface glimpse of reality is infinitely simple and perfectly complicated, and I know that being jaded and over it is way overrated, and that the colors of this world only seem faded in direct relation to the darkness with which your mind's eye is shaded. And you made it that way, and you can choose to change your vision's prismic range today. And I know that you gotta help a friend who's down, and I know that no matter where you end up, you're still from your hometown. And I know you gotta know how to listen to the sound of your own heartbeat in the dead quiet of night sometimes. And I know that can be so frightening, but I also know that the deepest darkness is always the most enlightening. And I know that fresh cold cantaloupe tastes like the perfect first kiss. And I know that Lao Tzu and Moses and Mohammed and Buddha and Jesus and all those dudes knew some deep ass shit, but I also know that we all hold the world's eternal truths in our heart's deepest pit. It's because I know that we are made of the same stuff as the sun and moon and farthest star, and all that we are is manifest energy, and that we already have everything we could ever need if we could just begin to see clearly. And I know that the world will continue to spin, and I know that the world will continue to spin, and I know that one day you will let me in, and we will begin to love in a fashion I couldn't fathom existed, and we will laugh at the fact that we ever resisted this blissful togetherness. And the sex, well, it'll be off the charts, 'cause we'll both be super freaky, but we'll be fucking from the heart, 'cause our loving will be a something where the whole is much greater than the sum of its parts, 'cause we're artists after all. So what else would fate have us make besides art? And I know that outside of this space-time frame we are one and the same. We're a part, not apart. So I know I can wait patiently for it to start. And far out I may seem to be, and maybe you see me as wacky, but baby, the fact be that I am a poet, and like all true poets do, I'm mainlining the spiraling spherical truth of the universe, turning it out and into lyrical wholeness. And I know this, and I know this. This I know, this I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, good news. Mayor Pamela Winchell called a press conference moments ago declaring an end to our dog pack terror. The mayor announced that the dogs were not actually dogs, just some plastic bags caught in the breeze that people mistook for wild dogs. There are no wild dogs in Night Vale, she said, and if there were, they'd be sweet little dogs with big, meaningless eyes and tongues like flypaper. The plastic bags, meanwhile, have been safely returned to the dog park from whence they came, and which is to remain unknowable and unremembered. Journalists asked about the injuries and aftermath of this morning's dog pack-related crimes. The mayor responded with a hollow stare. She promptly shook the podium off its base and whispered through gritted teeth, "Plastic bags. Plastic bags." The sheriff's secret police then ethically kettled the pool of reporters, gently coercing them with pepper spray. Most were taken away peacefully in handcuffs and black hoods. Thank goodness it was all a misunderstanding. Dear listeners, I don't want to say I told you so, but wasn't I right when I said we were a determined, resilient little town? In the face of wild beasts, we did not crumble. We did not back down. We stood eye to eye with violence, and it blinked first. Stand proud, Night Vale. Be afraid on the inside, of course. You are, after all, your own downfall. But stand proud against those predators that would harm your family. And that is our show. Thank you for listening, listeners. Stay tuned next for the popular advice program, Dr. Brandon. This week, Dr. Brandon offers a step-by-step on how to remove your own appendix without surgery. The sky tonight is a soft, quivering green. The wind is calm, but prepared. Get your sleep, Night Vale, and don't forget to dream. Good night.
It's good to have a distraction.